Love doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes as silence, as words written carefully, then folded away, as feelings meant for someone who never knew they were being loved. Margaret Maggie Collins learned early that loving Evelyn Wright meant choosing restraint. Evelyn was warmth without intention, kindness without promise, the kind of person who smiled easily, who listened, who stayed but never close enough to stay forever. They met during a season that felt temporary. Shared evenings, shared spaces, shared pauses that almost became confessions. Maggie wrote when she couldn't speak. 1 letter became 2. 2 became 12. She never signed them with love. She never addressed them to Evelyn by name, because some feelings once spoken could change everything, and Maggie wasn't ready to lose what little she had. Evelyn lived her life unaware that she was being loved quietly, faithfully, painfully, unaware that every letter was a heartbeat left behind, unaware that one day the silence would be heavier than the truth. This is not a story about love that was never real. It's a story about love that stayed unsent. The first letter was never meant to exist. Maggie found herself writing it on a Tuesday night, the kind of night that felt too quiet after laughter. Evelyn had left an hour earlier, her scarf forgotten on the chair, her presence still lingering in the room. The apartment smelled like tea and rain. Maggie sat by the desk, staring at a blank page, telling herself this was unnecessary. You don't need to write this, she thought. You'll see her again tomorrow. But her hand moved anyway. She wrote about small things, how Evelyn laughed without covering her mouth, how she always hummed when nervous, how she looked softer in dim light. Nothing that could be called love. Nothing that could be called a confession. Just truth. When the letter was finished, Maggie folded it neatly. No name, no date, no destination. She placed it inside an envelope and tucked it into the bottom drawer of her desk, convincing herself it was only a way to breathe, not a beginning. The next day, Evelyn arrived as usual, bright, casual, unaware. Did I leave my scarf here? She asked, smiling. Maggie handed it back, their fingers brushing for half a second too long. Evelyn didn't notice. She never did. But Maggie did. That night, Maggie opened the drawer again. She looked at the envelope and realized something she wasn't ready to admit. This wouldn't be the last letter. It started with 1, but the letters multiplied. Maggie never intended for Evelyn to read them. She wasn't ready for that kind of honesty, not yet. The letters were her secret. They were her safe place. The only way to let her feelings breathe without being exposed. She wrote on scraps of paper, in notebooks, in envelopes she never sealed. Every word carried a weight she couldn't speak aloud. I watched you laugh today. I wanted to say something, but my voice got lost somewhere between wanting and fear. I think you'd laugh if you knew how nervous you make me feel, even when you don't mean to. Maggie hid this one in the back of her closet. Days passed. She wrote more. 1 letter for every small moment. Evelyn reading by the window, sunlight catching her hair. Evelyn humming in the kitchen, spooning sugar into her tea. Evelyn walking past the park, her scarf too long, trailing behind her like a story Maggie would never get to tell. Each letter was a heartbeat, a whisper. Maggie labeled them quietly. Letter 1, Letter 2, Letter 3, up to 12. She imagined a world where one day she could hand them to Evelyn. Or maybe never. Maybe they would stay hidden, like the love that had no voice. And still, Maggie started to notice something she hadn't expected. Evelyn began staying longer, sharing small secrets, laughing a little more openly in Maggie's presence, smiling when Maggie hummed along unknowingly to the same tune Evelyn liked. It wasn't love, at least, not spoken, but it was close enough to make Maggie's heart ache. One rainy evening, as Maggie tucked letter 4 back into her drawer, she whispered to herself, "One day you'll know. Maybe not today, maybe not ever." But she had to keep writing, because loving Evelyn silently was no longer enough. It was 12 letters deep now, and Maggie feared stopping might mean losing even that. Spring had arrived, but Maggie felt the weight of winter still clinging to her chest. Letter 5 and letter 6 were written on a Sunday afternoon when Evelyn had wandered into Maggie's room looking for a book. Maggie had been organizing old letters, shoving her nervousness into neat piles of paper. "I almost told you today. I almost reached out and said what my heart has been keeping quiet for months, but the words wouldn't leave my lips. So I wrote them instead." Evelyn noticed Maggie seemed quieter that day. She frowned, lightly concerned. "You've been different lately," Evelyn said, her tone gentle, almost probing. Maggie's heart jumped. She forced a laugh, hiding the truth. "I've been writing about you, not to you." "Just busy," Maggie replied, too calm, too measured. Evelyn didn't push, but Maggie noticed the brief, lingering glance, the way Evelyn's eyes softened, as if sensing something beneath the surface. For the first time, Maggie wondered, does she know? Can she feel it? But the letters remained unsent, each one more personal than the last. Every scribble was an echo of her heart. By the 6th week, the letters had accumulated 12 in total, each a fragment of Maggie's soul. Letter 7 and letter 8 were almost poetry. "You make me feel seen, even when you don't realize it. I want to tell you that I love you, but I'm terrified it will break something fragile between us. So I write instead, and hope these words can hold what I cannot." Evelyn began to spend more time with Maggie outside the apartment. Coffee shops, libraries, walks in the park where Maggie's letters had quietly chronicled their interactions. Maggie's heart swelled with hope, only to crash into fear. Every smile from Evelyn, every laugh, every accidental touch made Maggie's chest ache. One afternoon, while Maggie was handing Evelyn a notebook she had been borrowing, their hands brushed. This time Maggie didn't pull away. Evelyn froze for a fraction of a second, then laughed nervously. "Sorry, I didn't mean—" "It's fine," Maggie whispered. Silence stretched between them longer than it should have. Both felt it something unspoken, heavy, tender. But neither named it. Maggie returned home that night and pulled out letter 9. She wrote feverishly, her pen trembling. "I can't stop. I won't stop. Even if you never feel the same. Even if these words are never for you." It was the beginning of the realization. Loving Evelyn quietly wasn't enough. But speaking it aloud could destroy everything Maggie held dear. And so the letters remained, 12 in total, all unsent, all holding a love too fragile to speak. Summer arrived with a golden haze, but Maggie's heart felt heavy with unspoken words. Letter 10 had been written hastily one night after. Evelyn had lingered too long at Maggie's apartment. They had baked cookies together, Evelyn laughing at every small mistake Maggie made but the moment. Maggie wanted to reach out, to touch her hand. Evelyn had pulled back slightly, unaware of Maggie's racing heartbeat. "You laughed today brighter than the sun. I wanted to tell you that I love you. But I couldn't. So I wrote it down, again. And again it waits for you." Evelyn noticed Maggie growing quieter, often lost in thought. One afternoon, while they were organizing Maggie's books, Evelyn paused. "Margaret, you've been writing a lot lately, haven't you?" she asked softly, curious but careful. Maggie's heart thudded. Her letters, her sacred secret world, were under suspicion. "Yes, just notes," Maggie replied, voice low. "Nothing important." Evelyn didn't press, but she kept stealing glances at Maggie, noticing the intensity in her eyes, the hesitation in her hands. For the first time, Maggie felt the fragile possibility. Maybe Evelyn could know. Maybe she already did, and yet Maggie couldn't risk it not now. By the time letter 11 and 12 were written, Maggie's emotions had grown impossible to contain. "I have written 12 letters, all unsent, each one carrying the pieces of my heart I cannot give you in person. I love you, Evelyn, but I cannot tell you, not yet. Maybe never." Evelyn began to notice the small signs, her hands lingering too long on Maggie's shoulder, the way Maggie smiled at her in ways she didn't smile at anyone else. One evening, Evelyn asked quietly, "Margaret, do you like me?" Maggie froze. Every instinct screamed say yes, but every thought screamed don't. I care about you," Maggie whispered, keeping the letter world safe between them. "That's all." Evelyn nodded, hiding the confusion in her eyes. She thought she understood, but she didn't. The tension between them grew unbearable, a delicate balance. Every moment together was a risk, too much feeling, too little clarity. Maggie returned to her room that night and stared at the 12 unsent letters on her desk. They were everything she wanted to say, everything she feared saying, everything that might never be returned. The letters had become her voice, her confession, her burden, and she didn't know how long she could keep them hidden. Autumn had painted the streets gold, but Maggie felt only gray. Evelyn had begun to pull away, not fully understanding why her heart ached when Maggie stayed close. She had sensed Maggie's feelings but assumed they were fleeting, or perhaps a reflection of friendship too intense to handle. Letter 13 didn't exist. Maggie had stopped writing. She didn't need letters anymore. Evelyn's absence was now louder than words could ever be. "Margaret, are you upset with me?" Evelyn asked one afternoon, her voice hesitant. Maggie shook her head, forcing a smile she didn't feel. "No, I'm fine." But she wasn't. They had shared coffee just days ago, and Evelyn had laughed at a joke. Maggie didn't even hear because her mind had been on the words she never said. The letters, unsent, lay hidden in the drawer, a testament to everything that would never be heard. Evelyn sighed, uncertain. "I feel like we're drifting," she admitted, almost to herself. Maggie's chest tightened. Every fiber of her being wanted to reach out, to confess, to bridge the gap. But she couldn't. She remembered the first letter, the one she had tucked in the bottom drawer months ago. It was no longer a safe place. It was a prison of words she would never deliver. That night, Maggie opened her drawer. 12 letters stared back at her, unsent, unforgiving, echoing the truth. "You will never know what I feel," And maybe that was her fault. Winter came early that year. The city streets were gray, and Maggie felt the same chill inside her chest. Evelyn had started keeping secrets of her own. Small things Maggie once thought they would share. Maggie noticed, of course, every little shift in Evelyn's expression, the way she avoided her gaze for longer than necessary, but she said nothing. She couldn't. One evening, Evelyn invited Maggie for tea, smiling as if nothing had changed. But Maggie could see it, the tension, the hesitation, the unspoken distance. I wanted to tell you something, Evelyn began, fiddling with her cup. But maybe it's not the right time. Maggie's heart leapt. Maybe this was it, the confession she had waited for, the moment she had dreamed of. But Evelyn stopped herself. I like someone, she admitted finally, her eyes downcast. Someone I can't be with. Maggie's chest sank. Every letter, every hidden word, every breath she had saved for this moment now felt heavier than the winter air. She smiled, a fragile, broken smile. I understand, she whispered, voice trembling. Evelyn looked up, searching Maggie's face for some sign, some comfort, unaware that Maggie had loved her all along. Quietly, patiently, painfully, after Evelyn left, Maggie went to her drawer. The 12 letters were there, unsent, untouched. She stared at them for hours, fingers trembling over the folded paper. All the words I saved, all the words I never gave. Now they're just letters. The room felt colder. The love Maggie had carried silently, faithfully, was now invisible. And maybe it always would be. The winter winds were sharp, cutting through the streets like the truth Maggie couldn't say. Evelyn had stopped coming around as much. Calls were shorter. Smiles were polite but distant. The warmth that once lingered in Maggie's chest every time Evelyn looked her way was now replaced with hollow echoes. Maggie sat by her desk, the 12 letters stacked neatly. She picked up letter 12, the last one she had written. I hoped one day you'd know that my silence was never indifference, that every word I never spoke, every letter I never sent, was love. Tears blurred the ink. She realized that the letters were never meant to be sent, because maybe sending them would have been the only way to save what was left. She remembered the day Evelyn had confessed liking someone else the way Maggie had smiled, pretending to understand, while her heart cracked in two. It wasn't Evelyn's fault. It was hers. For loving quietly, for hiding behind paper, for being afraid of losing the little moments they had. Maggie slid all 12 letters back into the drawer. She shut it slowly, as if sealing her own heart inside. Outside, snow began to fall, covering the streets in white. Inside, Maggie felt the cold settle into her bones. She whispered softly to herself, maybe love isn't meant to be returned. Maybe some hearts are only for keeping, not for giving. The drawer clicked shut. The letters were left behind, unsent, unseen, and untold. Spring returned, but Maggie's world had not. The streets bloomed with life, laughter, and possibilities, but she moved through it like a ghost, carrying a love that would never be hers. Evelyn had moved on. She smiled at Maggie politely when they crossed paths, unaware of the weight Maggie carried. Maggie had stopped writing altogether. The letters remained locked in the drawer, a silent testament to everything she could not say. Maggie walked past the places they used to go together, the coffee shop, the park, the library, and each familiar spot stabbed at her chest. She wanted to call out, to stop Evelyn, to tell her everything, but the words wouldn't come. She had already learned that some truths are too late. That evening, she returned to her apartment. The letters sat on the desk, 12 small, folded hearts of her own making. She picked up the first one, the one she had written months ago, filled with hope and longing. I loved you quietly. I still do. But maybe some love is only meant to live in silence. Maggie folded it once more and tucked it back into the drawer. Then she locked it. She opened the window and let the cold night air brush her face. She whispered to herself, just loud enough for the empty room to hear, "Goodbye, Evelyn." And in that moment, she finally let go. The letters remained unsent. The love remained unreturned. But Maggie's heart, though bruised, was free. Outside, the city lights flickered like a memory, beautiful, unreachable and gone. Some love is meant to be quiet. Some words are meant to stay folded, tucked away in drawers, never spoken, never returned. Maggie learned that loving Evelyn was not about possession or confession. It was about feeling deeply, living with tenderness, and carrying the truth in her heart, even if it could never be shared. The 12 letters remained unsent, but they were never wasted. They were proof of courage, proof of a love that existed, proof that sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones we live quietly, in silence. And though Evelyn never knew, Maggie carried her love like a fragile flame, always bright, always warm, even in the coldest nights. Because some hearts, even when broken, keep their own kind of beauty.